Welcome to LHAG's mini podcast where we bring you bite sized information in 5 minutes. Today's episode is centered on the popular phrase, my body, my rights, which concerns autonomy. This phrase is known to concern bodily autonomy and abortion, but in recent times, anti vaccination protesters and anti maskers have co opted this slogan to advance their belief. However, bodily autonomy is really about being empowered to make informed choices. In the medical setting, this is known as patient autonomy, which is the right of patients to make decisions about their medical care. Don't get me wrong, patient autonomy does allow for physicians to educate their patients. It just doesn't allow them to make the decision for the patient. In yesteryears, of course, physicians used to make all sorts of decisions for their patients. However, thankfully, modern medicine has moved into a more enlightened era of care, putting medical paternalism under attack. Now, medical paternalism is where a physician's interference with the patient's freedom of action is justified on the grounds of the patient's best interest. Now, this is really a traditional school of thought which stems from the idea that the patient, being medically untrained, is unable to comprehend his own medical condition. Thus, the need for the physician to act in the capacity of a benevolent parent, making medical decisions on the patient's behalf. A simple example that I can give you is where a physician withholds information from a patient, fearing that he or she might refuse much needed medical procedure. Devil really is in the detail, as best interest of a patient can be viewed with bifocal lens. What may be considered by a physician to be best for the patient may not coincide with the patient's view. So the clash between medical paternalism and patient autonomy is actually best explained by Lord Scarman, who said, "The physician's concern is with health and the relief of pain. These are the medical objectives. But a patient may well have in mind circumstances, objectives, and values which he may reasonably not make known to the physician, but which may lead him to a completely different decision from that suggested by a purely medical opinion." So, to build upon this point, it can't be denied that the relative importance attached by patients to quality of life as against the length of life, or to physical appearance or bodily integrity as against the relief of pain, will vary to some degree from one patient to another. And it's for this reason that in this day and age, physicians are legally required to involve their patients in the process by explaining their medical conditions, treatment options, risks, and so on. Because failure to do so exposes the physician to the risk of being sued. But I have to say, it's really quite a hard line for physicians to navigate between the duty to always act in the best interest of the patient, avoiding tendencies of medical paternalism, and respecting patient autonomy. So really the bottom line is this. It doesn't matter if the individual physician considers the patient's decision to be foolish or reckless. Such a decision is still up to the patient to make. Now, the exception whereby medical paternalism may be justified, among others, of course, is where the patient lacks capacity. So, where a paternalistic physician actively ignores the principles of patient autonomy and carries on treatment without informed consent, such actions are recognized by law to amount to both a crime and a tort. So, just to wrap this entire podcast up, the two key takeaways from this is this. Physicians, be reminded to work collaboratively with patients by having full and frank discourse. Patients, be reminded that it's your body and you have the right to make informed decisions in relation to your medical care. So with that, I'm Shona M. Thomas. Hope you have a good week.